Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Rainbows, Fire Rainbows, and Circumhorizon Arcs. New rainbow patterns have been appearing in Earth's skies, which have never been seen before. New terminology has been invented in reference to these new rainbow patterns. The use of this new terminology may at first give the phenomena a semblance of having a well-understood explanation for its occurrence. However, coming up with a scientific-sounding name for a phenomenon does not in any way explain the mechanism behind its occurrence, and does in no way make it a natural phenomenon. We are living in a time when our planet is being artificially manipulated at all levels. Technological devices and artificial mechanisms are being used to deceive the Earth's population. The mechanisms being used, such as chemtrails, are also not just deceptive. They are deadly because extremely toxic substances are being used, indicating that they are meant to destroy life. In this article, I examine the rainbows that are now present in our sky, starting by explaining the mechanism behind a natural rainbow. And we see some of the pictures of the rainbow type effects that we are seeing in our skies, and this one makes the sky look like a painter's palette, and I believe this is most likely created by paint having been added to the chemtrails and causing gaseous substances in our atmosphere actually having a color, because these seem to be mixed in such a way that I don't think can be caused by a refractive effect. But this one, I believe, is most likely created by a refractive effect. We can see a circular pattern, an arc. We can see a rainbow along the arc, and this is most likely created by a refractive effect, and this would require the presence of lenses in our atmosphere. Now, the production of a rainbow requires the presence of water droplets in the atmosphere. Light coming from the sun is refracted on entering the droplet and also on exiting. In between, there's a reflection which is associated to refraction and is called total internal reflection. The light has to hit the back surface of the droplet at an angle which is equal to or greater than the critical angle for water, which is 49 degrees. So we have sunlight coming in, it's refracted, in other words, it's bent at this interface as it enters the water droplet. Then we have a reflection, it's called total internal reflection, it's actually a refractive effect, and then light is bent again. And all these refractive effects cause light, the light frequencies to be split. So upon exiting the water droplet, the blue light will end up being above the red light. The two are separate. Now, since the different frequencies or colors that make up white light are refracted by different amounts, they end up exiting the water droplet at different angles, as we see here. And then this results in the viewer seeing only one color coming from droplets in a part of the sky and another color coming from other droplets slightly above or below the first droplet. The lines of different colors must also form a cone. Okay, but let's look at what occurs, why the observer sees the colors from different parts of the sky. So we have here two droplets. Both of them, they have light of the different frequencies exiting them. All the frequencies exit at the same angle for all the droplets. But the light from each drop, not all these, this light reaches the eye of the observer. So droplets in the lower part of the sky, the blue light comes out at such an angle that it is detected by the eye because it reaches the eye, whilst the red one will exit at such an angle that will go below the eye, so the observer, will not see it. Whilst water droplets in a part of the sky that is above where the lower droplet is, from these ones, the red light comes out just at the right angle so that it reaches the eye, whilst the blue light will end up going above the observer, so it will not be seen. So that means the observer will see blue light coming from the lower part of the sky and red light coming from the upper part of the sky, with yellow light coming from between the two. And then we have a cone forming around the observer, because this will occur at the same distance all the way around the observer. So this forms the cone. The rainbow is actually forms at the base of the cone. This will be the axis of symmetry of the cone, and this would be the side of the cone, which makes an angle of 40 degrees with the axis of symmetry of the cone. So we have sunlight coming in. It goes through first refraction, then there's a reflection, which means it goes back towards somewhat the same direction as the sun is in, and then the observer detects it. That means that the sun has to be behind the observer. So the observer has his back turned towards the sun. That's the only way that the observer will be able to see this rainbow. So there is this arc. The rainbows are always in an arc shape, and the angle that's made is, well, there's a minimum angle of 32 degrees, but the typical angle is 40 degrees. Now, in order for a rainbow to be visible, note that we need water droplets in the atmosphere. The water needs to be in the liquid phase. Ice crystals will not do, because it is not possible to get total internal reflection from an ice crystal. Secondly, the rainbow is visible only when the observer is facing away from the sun. In other words, the rainbow appears in the part of the sky opposite to where the sun is. We are being told that ice crystals are responsible for rainbows that are appearing in the sky. This is just not possible. The rainbows that are seen nowadays are also on the same side of the sky as the sun, and this is not possible either. These types of rainbows are not being produced through a natural mechanism. They are simply not natural rainbows. They are anomalies. So one of these anomalies is the double rainbow. There is only one way we can have a double rainbow, or even triple rainbow. But basically, for each light source in the sky, you can have one rainbow. So if you have two rainbows or double rainbows, as we see here, you need two light sources. So you could have the sun in a simulator or two sun simulators, but if you only have one source, you will get one rainbow. And if you have two rainbows, it means you have more than one source of light. And these light sources must be coming from different positions in the sky, somewhere behind the observer. There is no natural mechanism for inverted rainbows or straight line rainbows on planet Earth. However, a rainbow type effect can be produced by the dispersion of light, which is a form of refraction, passing through a transparent medium. So here we have a rainbow pattern which forms a clearly circular outline, and it's close to the moon, and this indicates that the edge of a lens is in the atmosphere and is causing dispersion or refraction at the edge. The circular the circular rainbow pattern is caused most likely by dispersion, which is the splitting up of different light frequencies making up white light. This is what happens when light passes through a prism. So this is what we see here. A prism refracts the light. It bends it, but it refracts each frequency by a slightly different amount, which means that each of the frequencies will come out with different angles. And this is called dispersion, or the splitting of the different light frequencies. And now light is also dispersed by a lens as seen here. And this causes the different colors to have different focal lengths or focal points. So at the edge of the lens, we have the same effect that we have on the prism, and that is that the light is dispersed, or it splits up into different frequencies, because each frequency is refracted by different amounts. And this then causes these different light frequencies to have different focal lengths or different focal points. So they end up crossing this line going through the lens at different points. Now, the images produced by light going through this type of lens have edges that look blurred, and we sometimes see what looks like a rainbow on these edges. And this effect is called chromatic aberration. You see the results. Here is a photograph taken with no chromatic aberration, and this is one where we see chromatic aberration effects. We see that the different frequencies, the blue and the red, or have different focal points, so the photograph looks blurred. You can see the blue here and the red here, so the different colors have been split. So this is the most likely reason for what we see in the atmosphere. It's lenses in the atmosphere that causing chromatic aberration. And because there is no way that these can be produced naturally, because, as we know, a rainbow always forms an arc. It never forms a straight line. But we can have straight lines when it's caused by chromatic aberration, which is a refractive effect due to the presence of lenses. So this would mean that there are lenses in the atmosphere that are causing these effects. Now, I have actually written an article. It was article 213, entitled "Producing Lenses Out of Air in the Earth's Atmosphere." And in that article, I wrote about the fact that lenses seem to be forming from air itself through the application of electromagnetic waves, resulting in sound wave resonances in the atmosphere of our planet. The purpose for these seems to be the hiding of the dead stars that have invaded the solar system and are affecting both the sun and our planet. One large aspect of the artificial mechanism being used to produce these lenses in the atmosphere is the injection of aerosols in our atmosphere. These are usually called chemtrails. Chemtrails are the production of clouds through introducing artificial cloud condensation nuclei in the atmosphere. Clouds are produced when water in the atmosphere condenses into liquid droplets around particles of dust in the atmosphere. Chemtrails are producing artificial clouds through the introduction of artificially introduced dust, which are rich in heavy metals and thus toxic to all life on Earth. And you may look at Article 148 entitled "The Purpose and Effects of Chemtrails" for more on that. In addition, particles which create artificial pigmentation in the sky must have also been added to the mix, as there is no other way of producing the strange colored arrangements as seen in these photographs, unless pigmentation substances, sky paint, are present within the atmosphere. In other words, these mixtures of colors cannot be produced through any refractive effect. Only actual mixing of colored gases can produce these. So these cannot be produced by any refractive effect. They are too mixed up all over the place. That most likely due to different colored gases being mixed together in the atmosphere. It could be just water, but water colored or different pigment added to the dust, which then becomes part of the droplets in certain sections on the sky, and then the mixing of these will produce this chaotic effect with the colors. Now, as I have detailed in many articles, the Earth seems to have captured some of the dead stars that have invaded the solar system. And you may look at Article 188 entitled What is Causing the Ocean to Recede All Over the World, and Article 201 entitled Africa Breaking Up, a preview of what is to come. These objects absorb energy from the host object and eventually are able to emit light. Since they are likely to be able to emit bright colors, the addition of rainbow colors to the sky is a way of disguising the presence of these objects so that anyone seeing them from the Earth's surface will think they are seeing clouds. Now, rainbow effects are seen often around sun halos. That is, you have a light source in the center, which at least appears to be the sun. I don't believe we are actually seeing the sun anymore from the Earth's surface. The sun seems to be simulated. I've written about that. But this sun halo effect, especially in this case, can only be produced through a refractive effect. And in this case, we have a double refraction because we have a circular outline around the sun here, and we have a second one there. Now, this can only be created through lenses. So we most likely have a sun simulator, and we have a lens produced within the atmosphere, as I said, through the application of electromagnetic waves, which produce resonances in the atmosphere, which is now rich in heavy metals because of the chemtrails, and that produces these refractive surfaces which act as lenses in the atmosphere. And we have a rainbow effect here. This is most likely around a light source as well, so it's a sun halo, and we see the second one there again. Again, this means there are two lenses, a smaller one and a larger one. Now, it is also possible that some of the halos are as a result of one of the sun simulators in operation. One of the designs seems to have a transparent spherical vessel around the light source in the center, and that seems to operate much like a plasma ball. But when the halo is close to the ground, then it can only be produced through a refractive effect, indicating the presence of a lens. As you can see, there's a mountain there. So there's no way that if this is the actual vessel around the light source, that it would be seen through the mountain. This is due to the presence of a lens between the observer and that mountain, because it's in front of the mountain. Now, ice crystals cannot be responsible for the production of such a halo. This is what an ice crystal looks like. It has many surfaces facing in different directions at different angles. In order to produce a circular halo, all ice crystals would have to reflect light at the same angle. But ice crystals have different surfaces which would face random directions, and thus any reflection would result in light being re-emitted in different directions by each crystal. We can see our own reflection in a mirror because all light rays are reflected off the mirror at the angle of incidence. So as light comes in, if this is a mirror, which is a smooth surface, a smooth reflective surface, we have light coming in, and this would be at the incident angle. It's always measured with respect to the normal. And that angle will be equal to the angle of reflection. So it will exit at the same angle to the normal. And this allows the production of images on the mirror, so we can see our face in the mirror. Now, light, when it's reflected off a rough surface, so it could be just a piece of paper, well, a piece of paper is reflective as well. It reflects the light that impacts it. but it reflects the light in different directions because it's a rough surface. So that means that no clear image can be seen if we look into the paper. All we see is a diffuse white because light is coming from all kinds of directions from the piece of paper. So it just looks white. So in the same way, a conglomeration of ice crystals cannot produce anything that is clearly defined, but only a hazy effect. So we see if we have different ice crystals, they would all have different orientations. So light coming in would be reflected at different angles. So all we could get is a hazy effect. We could not get anything clearly defined. We could never get a clear circle forming around the light source as a result of these ice crystals. Now, we also have these types of clouds, and these are called iridescent clouds. And in these clouds, the colors are not clearly mixed. They form these bands of color. And these bands of color are, I think, most likely due to the presence of thin films in the atmosphere, and therefore due to diffraction. Iridescent clouds, because they have these unmixed bands, are most likely due to thin films. Now, thin films are most likely produced as a result of the presence of fluoropolymers, and these are fluoride compounds like Teflon in the atmosphere. We do know that fluoride is added to chemtrails because it has a tendency to dumb down the population. That's why the Nazis added it to the water of their prisoners of war. Now, these are available in hydrophilic formulations, that is, they are dissolved in water and can therefore be easily added to the chemtrail mix. Now, another form of cloud that we have is noctilucent clouds, and we see one produced here behind the Japanese rocket as it streaks across the sky, and this means that it's artificially created by aerosols sprayed by the rocket. And we see same rocket here. We see what's the pattern produced behind it, and we see this, which looks like a comet with a blue light emitting from it. So this would be like a blue comet with a pink tail. And you may look at Article 137, including noctilucent clouds, rocket launches, and chemtrails. What are they hiding? For more on that. Now, rockets have been launched from the Earth's surface since the 1960s, but it's not until recently that they started producing noctilucent clouds. This indicates that these clouds are being artificially created by aerosols sprayed by the rocket in an effort to mask what may otherwise be visible to the Earth's population. In the above image, we see what seems to be a comet-like object with a blue coma and a pink tail. The presence of this object in the sky is the most likely reason why the effort was made to launch an aerosol spraying rocket into the upper atmosphere and therefore artificially create noctilucent clouds. In fact, this is most likely due to one of the stellar cores that have been captured by the Earth. These objects are absorbing material from the Earth, and they are likely to start being able to emit light. There will be electrical effects and therefore ionization, and that is likely to lead to the emission of light. And this is most likely what these are trying to hide. It's the fact that these objects are here and are now visible from the Earth's surface. So, in conclusion, the production of a natural rainbow in the Earth's atmosphere requires the presence of water droplets in the atmosphere and that the observer has his back to the sun. A natural rainbow also forms an arc. Straight line rainbows, rainbow effects around the light source, double rainbows, and pigmentation in the sky are not natural. these are artificially created. These artificially created phenomena indicate a desperate attempt to hide the truth about what is happening in the solar system and to our planet from the Earth's population. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.